Okay, so this is a live video on how I make my painting papers. And currently no one's watching, so I'm just talking to myself, but that's okay. I'm Brenda with Foxy's Jewelry Creations, and today I'm going to make several different kinds of painting papers, going from least messy to messiest. So least messy is, I use sponge painting. And my sponges, I wet them earlier, but they're almost dry. So the kind of sponges that I use, and put some little water in a cup over here. The kind of sponges that I use are these kind. You can get them at Dollar Tree. You can get them at Walmart. You can really get them anywhere. They're just regular kitchen sponges. And that's what I normally use. I then cut them. These were cut into a strip off the purple sponge and then cut in half. I am now going to put them in water and squeeze them out so that they're wetter than they are. So I get my sponges all wet. I love doing sponge painting because some people, if it's done, well, it depends on how you do it. The way I do it, I use one sponge and 3 colors of paint. Okay, so for the palette, we're going to use the paper plate. And to start with, I am going to use this pink color. And I'm going to go with bright colors. So I'm going to go with pink, yellow, and some light blue. Hopefully we won't end up with a mud. Okay, and I'm going to pull up one sheet of book paper. And I just dip a corner, and an edge, and then just start dapping it down, turning the sponge. And that didn't have enough blue on it, so we're going to get some blue. I'm dipping the edges into the pink. And it's going to start again. And then I'm going to reload blue, yellow, pink. And this is one way of doing it. We'll do another one with the same 3 colors in just a moment. Yellow, a different way, so you can see the different techniques and how they look different. This gives it a more mottled look. And is much quicker than the second way because it's all 3 colors at one time. Okay, so that's what we have. And if you don't think it's got enough of a color, like this needs a little bit more blue, I just go back in the blue and add some. So there is that paper. I'm going to lay it back there to dry. And I'm going to rinse my sponge off in some water. Okay, so the next way that we're going to do this is I'm going to pick up just the yellow paint and just put yellow on to begin with. I'll just go in here, there, and everywhere. And one of the reasons I wanted to do the live is it's been taking me 3 hours to upload recorded videos. And that's just craziness. So I decided I'll see what happens if you go live. How long does it take YouTube to upload those? Okay, so there's that. And I'm getting a baby wipe so I can watch view of what I'm doing. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the sponge on the side and load it up with the blue paint. And then just, oh, I need more blue out. Dabby this. I may have to switch from the tile because it's making a lot of racket. Okay, that looks like it's got a lot of blue, so I'm going to go back up to yellow. Just dab over it to push the blue to the background a little bit. Okay, so here's this one. And you'll notice that even though we're putting them on top of each other, I'm not getting any orange and I'm not getting any purple. And here's the first one. And that was the first one with all 3 colors on the sponge at once. And this is the one done. So you can compare them. So it just really depends on the look that you're going for, you know, how you would want to do it. So I'm going to wipe off the tile and get it. It's not level, so it's making noise on the table. Sorry for the jiggling. So I'm going to move the tile off to the side. We'll just work on top of the file folder. Okay. So if I do it with just 2 colors, which I did in some Happy Mail that I sent out, I did it with a red and white. And I don't have my white, so we're going to do it with red. Maybe. There we go. We'll do red and we'll do pearl. We got a piece of paper. Zoom in again. Trying to get that where y'all can see it. Okay. I'm just going to get a new sponge and I'm going to dip half of it in the pearl, half of it in the red. And actually, I'm going to go to all red and then I'll go over it with the pearl and hopefully we will not end up with pink. That way the metallic is on top and we get a shimmery effect. And there's a lot of paint right there. And that happens sometimes. You get a glob, especially if you don't dab off the sponge before you hit the paper, which I do, and sometimes I forget. Okay, so I'm going to flip the sponge over, and on the other end, I'm going to pick up the purple paint, the pearl colored paint, and dab it on top. And you can't see because my arm is in the way. Okay, and I ran out of pearl paint. And you can also gesso your pages first if you don't want the print to be as noticeable. Just a thin layer of gesso over it to knock the print back a little bit. Okay. And that is the way, let's zoom out because that looks not as pretty. And that's how this page looks with the sponge painting technique. And I see where it looks like it's got heavy on the pearl at the top. So I'm just going to barely dab my sponge and just kind of go. See, you can just add layer on top of layer on top of layer to that. So I'm just going to put this one up there to dry in the back. Okay. So I think that's all the sponge painting technique we're going to do. And then for the next technique, we are going to, I have a clear mat that I purchased from Dollar Tree. You get 2 of them for $1. And for this one, what we're going to do is we are going to use it like a jelly plate. Just going to put down some little dots, well, dots and streams of paint here and there and everywhere. I like to use streams. And we're going to go with the gold. A few drops of teal. And now we're going to add in some purple. Oh. Where did I put those paints? Oh, right here. And this is Lumiere, and it's acrylic as well. All these are acrylic paints that I'm using. Then I'm going to take an old plastic card, and just like you would on a jelly plate, I'm going to move the paint. And we can draw in it with our corner of our, this one seems to have something across the edge of it. And then we're going to lay down a book page and press it. And we had a lot of empty space on that one. So I'm going to redo. There we go. And so that came out really nice. We're just going to lay it back in the back to dry. And then I don't want to waste any paint, so I'm going to put down on book paper. And there's that one. So. And now I'm going to wipe this off with wet wipes. And I save my wet wipes and let them dry because these are homemade wet wipes. It's made out of paper towel. So I will wipe this all up, which isn't going so well because my paper towel is pretty much full. And see how pretty that is? And then when it dries, I will turn it into napkin paper. So that nothing goes to waste. It kind of has, that kind of has a tie-dye effect on it. Can you see that? So this way, nothing will go to waste. That will dry pretty and then be turned into a napkin paper. Okay, so there was the purple and gold and teal. So now what I want to do, still want to use gold. I think maybe my card I didn't get my card cleaned off all the way. Let me clean that off. I don't know what was going on with the edge of that card. I have another card over here to use. Okay. And I need to get my painting self washed, get all this extra purple paint off me. And these are metallic paints. Those were all metallic paints, the gold, the purple, and that teal color. Those were all metallic. I love the metallics because when they're dry, they give your paper a really nice shine. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is still some gold. This time I'm going to try to put it into drops. Y'all can't really see what I'm doing because I've got the camera. Let me move my painty papers that are at the back. Turn them around a different way so I can move this. I tried to shrink the screen and it's not letting me zoom out. There it goes. Okay. Now I'll zoom it. Whoop. Okay. So we got the gold down. And my favorite colors are pinks, golds, and purples. And turquoise. So this time I'm going to use this pink. This is a color shift paint. It's going to shift to blue in certain light, which is very pretty. I haven't tried it on this technique to see if it still has the color shift properties. I'm pretty sure it would. And then I'm going to use this metallic teal color, if I can get it to shake down in its tube. My paints are about empty. Oh, well, this one has a globby. Get rid of its little globbiness. There we go. Now we're cooking. Okay. Taking this. And I'm going to wipe my card on a piece of paper so I don't lose that paint. And here's how that looks. That's the paper I just wiped the card on so I wouldn't lose the paint off of it. Somehow I ended up with metallic paint all over me. Okay, so I'm going to take our book paper and lay it in this paint. Press it, press it, press it. I don't have a brayer, so I just kind of have to do this. I don't have a brayer or a jelly plate. So, because I'm primarily a jewelry making artist and new to the paper crafting arts. So I don't have the tools necessary. But I think that this came out just fine. And in some cases where I think it's like a little too much paint, and I may want it a little lighter, I will stack that page on top of another page and press them together and divide the paint. And here's what we have. We have the original one, and then we have this one that just got the extra paint off that paper. It also aids in drying time. Okay. Now you might be asking what we're going to do with all this paint over here. I'm going to take this piece of paper, pat it into that real good. Flip it over. And do that side. Then, fold the whole paper in half. And I'm going to open it and see what we get. And we got this. And I think that's very pretty for a background on a page. So I'll just set that aside. Background on an ATC card, on a page. Okay, that'll work. This is just to get up all this other paint that's still on here. Which there's not much paint left. And so that's how that paper came out, as well as my hand. Okay, so now I'm going to wipe this off again and put this paint back here out of the way. So we've sponge painted. We have used this clear plastic sheet. It's actually a clear plastic cutting board from Dollar Tree. You get 2 to a package. We have used this as our jelly plate and painted and printed on it. We have made pretty napkin-y papers with our cleanup paper. Let me dry this off. Okay. Now, this is the messiest technique, but it's the most fun. And it is going to be shaving cream. And I'm not going to use a lot. I only have 2 more pieces of paper out. I have, there we go. I'll just hold it up and do it. Okay, that's good. We're going to take our card and we just want to flatten this out. Spread it out, flatten it out, make it the size of your paper. In this case, I'm using those book pages, so they're not that big. And let's see. Yeah, close. Let me pull this back a little bit more. And I may have to go get more book paper. Okay. That's good. And now we're going to make the marbled paper with this technique. I'm just going to pick some paints. I want to use purple and green and some gold. And with this one, this is what I do. I just go back and forth, and I'm not going to use any gold. This green paint goes to gold. And I want to use the purple. And this one I'm going to zigzag the opposite direction. Then I'm going to take the end of the paintbrush and I am going to swirl these together. Isn't that pretty? Now the fun. I'm going to take my paper, lay it right down on top of that, and press. And you don't have to press hard. We're just going to press gently. Doesn't matter if it squirts out to sides or not. Then you're going to gently lift your page up. And now, let me move this out of my way for a second and grab the other one, because we got to scrape it. So we're going to lay our paper down. My card is stuck to the table because it's got shaving cream on it. Hang on. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the cards. You don't know what you have until you scrape this back. And you don't want to waste that shaving cream. And I scraped a little too hard and poked a hole in my paper, so I'm just going to squish it back down. Oh, and I just made it bigger. Okay, set that off to the side. Grab my paper. Let me. So when you're scraping, be careful not to do that. So this is what the paper looks like. It's got that nice design on it. It's very muted and in the background. Whoops. So I'm going to set this aside to dry. And I didn't get all the shaving cream off of it, so. I'm just wiping the card off. That's an old badge of my husband's, so it's no longer a valid anything. Okay. And these papers come out a little bit wetter than the Painty papers. I'm just going to move some of these off so I can set this down to dry. Oops. There we go. It's nice and flat. Okay, hang on. I got a mess going on over that you can't see. And I'm up to almost my armpits in shaving cream. Back on this side of the table. So let me get that cleaned up a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to wipe this off so when we put the next painty paper down to scrape, it won't have any of that on there. And we're just going to move it off because we're going back to the shaving cream. And that paper is still wet. I'm moving it from there. Okay. So, one moment. I got stuff everywhere. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take the card and I'm just going to smooth this back out. Now, if you like the way this looks, you can take another print right off the top of this. Or you can add different colors paints to it, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this pink metallic. Same thing, I'm just going to zigzag it. I made a huge mess with that. I am going to put gold on this one. And we may have some of that green peeking through. That's fine. I'm trying to decide if that's all I want to do before I mix it. I think it is. So, paintbrush handle again. And we're just going to drag it through. Drag it through the other way. And drag this through down here a little bit. Okay. Take our paper. Lay it down. And press, press, press. I think what I like most about this is you don't know what you're going to get until you scrape the paper. And that's the surprise. Because this is not what we're going to have. Now, it looks pretty, but that's not what we're going to have when we're done in a second. And I do want to use that print, so I'm going to go grab another book paper and pull a second print off of it. These are not even tearing straight. Hang on just a second. Okay. Got more book paper. Before I use that, though, I need to move that and scrape this one. Whoa. And just don't scrape it too hard. It does help if you have a bowl of water to rinse your card off in between each scraping. I'm just wiping mine off the best I can on paper towels. And then we want to pull up the paper. And that is what we have, that print. That is a gorgeous print. And I've got stuff on the back. I'm just going to wipe that off so I can lay it down without a problem. Well, that's what I thought I was going to do. I'm going to put wax paper up under that in a minute. Okay. This I'm going to go rinse off in my sink real fast because this is the last jelly print we're going to do. The next one. So it'll be just a moment. It's just Barbasol and acrylic paint. It won't hurt if you go down the drain. Just another minute. I don't want to let this dry on here. Okay. So the next thing is I wanted to reprint this shaving cream. So I'm just going to lay a paper down on it the way it is and press, press, press. Oh, I missed a spot. And there we are. And I'm going to need to scrape this one on the file folder because I left my other thing at the sink. We have a blank spot, but when that happens, when you scrape, it will put paint on it. So it will get a little bit of color. Okay, just want to get off all this excess shaving cream. And there is that paper. Then what I'm going to do, because I don't want to waste anything, I'm going to paint my file folder. Because this file folder can be cut up into ATC cards. So I'm just using the shaving cream I had already off of that paper. And I'm just going to rub it on here and make a huge mess. Like I said, this is probably the messiest technique for painting. It's the most fun if you like getting messy. Definitely the most fun. I don't mind getting messy. Okay, now what I'm going to do is work on cleaning this off. I think what I'm going to do to clean the file folder off is just take a paper towels and rub, which will get the shaving cream off of the folder and at the same time make a pretty painting paper. Then I need to ask my painting paper friends how they do this without getting so messy, because I am making a royal mess. So I'm just cleaning up everything. File folder's going to have to dry. We have one very, very last technique. This is a new one. I didn't even know you could do this. It is very cool, but what you see when I do it is not what you will end up with. It's not acrylic pouring, but in the sense that you're not going to get what you think you're going to get, it is. Let me go rinse this off my paint palette thing, because again, we don't want the paint to dry on here. Okay. And I'm going to get a sheet of wax paper. Because we have used the file folder that I was originally using. So, set that aside to dry. Okay. What we are now going to do is, ignore that corner. Let me first find what I did with my alcohol inks. There they are. And we want the other side. It's got more words on it. Okay. We are now going to put a layer of glue on this paper. I think that's good. We're going to spread it out. That's a good brush to do that with. You just want it to be an even coating of glue. You want it to be pretty thick for this technique. It's going to dry. The glue dries clear. Just keep that in mind. I saw Jennings 6440 this on an old one of her videos that showed up in my feed the other day. And I was like, no, that is so cool. So I've been trying it. She did it on a canvas. I have tried it on playing cards. I've tried it on paper, and it works. So it doesn't have to be a canvas. I think the trick is getting the glue, and it needs to be white glue. And I've only used my Elmer's. It's what I have. I haven't used anything else. Okay. You have your thin layer of white glue, and now I'm going to drop alcohol ink on it. And I love the gold alcohol ink. Then I'm going to come in with some blue. I have pinata colors. Some blue. And you'll see how it just spreads on the glue. That is what I think is so cool. The way that the glue keeps it off the paper and allows it to spread. It acts like a medium for the alcohol. Now I'm going to come in with some. It's called Senorita Margarita. It's pink. It looks really cool on the ATC cards that I've made. Okay, now, this is where the fun starts. I have a spray bottle with alcohol in it. And I'm just going to spray it, if I can get my alcohol bottle to work. And then I'm going to tilt it. And blow it. So you could get a straw to direct the blow better. I don't think that sounded very nice. But I like the way, now the way it looks right now may not, the white's going to come bubble up through and stuff. So you can always spray a little bit more alcohol on it so that you can get it to drip and run and do what you want it to kind of do. Try to turn this where y'all can see what's happening on the paper. And it will dry. It just takes it however long the glue takes. The alcohol ink's going to dry the fastest. And I like how the gold breaks up on top. When you spray it, the gold kind of separates and leaves like little gold glittery things everywhere. It's really cool. Okay, so that's what we're just going to have to let that dry and see what happens. That's really all you can do with this technique is let it dry and see what happens, because how it looks now is not how it's going to look in the end. But that would make some really pretty backgrounds for some ATCs, a background in a journal, anything like that. So that was the last technique. The only other thing I can say is if you have any kind of rubbing buffs or metallic, because I work with clay and I make polymer clay items, I have some of these metallic lusters from Deco Art in different colors. I also have rub and buff in different colors. And what you can do with these, let's take this paper back here that's kind of bright yellow. And we're just going to crumple it up. We're going to move this out of our way. I don't want to mess up our alcohol ink paper. Ooh. That was the alcohol bottle hitting the floor, which is fine. Okay, and I'm going to move this paper off this side. So we're just going to crumple this paper all up. And if it's not crumpled enough, crumple it again. And we are going to carefully open it back up again. Now what we want to do is I'm going to use this metallic. This is like a bronze color. And I'm just going to put it on my finger. A little bit on your finger. And when you rub over the paper, don't press. You just want to rub over the paper. What's going to happen is it's going to hit the tops of those wrinkles that you just put in the page. That's why we don't want to press down, because we don't want to get the whole paper this color. We're just trying to highlight the paper with some different colors. Then you take a paper towel, let it dry for just a minute. This does not need to be sealed. It is a wax product. And I need a baby wipe to get it off my finger. And it doesn't take it long to dry. Okay. We're going to take a paper towel, and we are now going to buff it. And that just gives it a nice gold glow. Can you see that? I think we have a glare coming off the paper. There we go. It just gives it a nice golden glow to where the wrinkles were, only highlighting the raised areas. So I kind of like that effect. So you can do that just to add a different color. I have rose gold and turquoise in this, and in the rub and buff, which is the same thing. It's just in a tube. In the rub and buff, I have silver and gold and copper. So that's an idea for how to bring extra texture to your papers. Okay, so that's it for today. On the next video, I will show how that alcohol ink paper turned out. And so what we have is we have this one that we rubbed and buffed. That was a sponge painted paper. We have this sponge painted paper. Thought we did a third sponge painted paper. Hang on. I'll find it. I have paper drying everywhere over here on this table. We did. And here's that sponge painted paper. Let me put the lid back on this metallic stuff. Okay, so we did these 3 sponge painted papers. These are the same colors, just applied differently. This is the one with the red and the pearl white. Then we did, that's not a jelly print. You can smell them. Jelly prints. Well, none of them are jelly prints, but the shaving cream prints are going to smell like Barbasol. So these ones are done where I've just put the paint on the plastic and printed. Let's see, that's shaving cream paper. Here's another one done like that. This was the scrapings where I scraped the card to save the paint and not lose the paint. Oh, that I really like how that one looks. Got one more back here. That was one where I just took the extra paint off of the paper. I think that's what this one was too, where we just went and we took the extra excess paint off. This is with one colorway, this is with the other. So we have those painty papers. And what I usually do is once they're good and dry, I'll go back through and I'll stamp images on them, doodle on them, something else to add other elements to the pages. And then we have our alcohol, not alcohol, shaving cream papers. So we have this one and this one. Uh-oh, I'm missing one. We are missing a paper. And we have this one. Then there was a last one that I took. Maybe that's this one. I think it is. Yeah, we only had 3. We did it this way, then we did this, and then this was the one with the combination where I just didn't want to lose it. After this one was done, that's what this one was. So that is our Painty papers, and this is how I make most of my Painty papers. There are millions of different ways you can make Painty papers. I've also done this with wax paper. The same exact things with the wax paper. And I hope this helps y'all. I had a lot of fun doing it. Please like and subscribe and leave a comment below and find me on Facebook as well. Thanks and have a great day.